we're going to continue with our wonky sculptures here at the Appleton. You want to make sure you have all your supplies today, okay? So I've got yarn, I've got paint, I've got sticks, I've got paintbrushes, I have paint and glue and scissors, everything that I need to make my wonky sculpture. This one, it's from my backyard. I've painted it, wrapped yarn, made some pom-poms. I'll show you how to do that. Glued on some beads. And in this pot right now, I have colored rice. It's in your pot. You need something that you can stick these in and they will stand up. So I'm just going to put that in there. And this is going to help too, well, while we're painting, because if we paint those sticks, you need some place where they can stand up and dry. Okay. So you want to make them as creative as possible. And you can see some of mine are straight. Some of them are little. This one's got all little beads on it. This pot has an assortment of beans that, you know, here at the Appleton, we always have all kinds of extra stuff. So I just have all different beans in here, and that's what I'm going to use today to put my sticks in. And I'll show you what I have for sticks, because I went out and got some. I could even just do one in here just because it's got so many different angles. So the first thing you want to do is, well, you can start painting directly. Sometimes if the bark is really a dark color, I will paint it with white first and then paint over it. But you don't really need to do that all the time. So let's get some paint out. I have your basic primary colors. So I'm just going to pour out a little bit of red and yellow, because if I have my primary colors, I can make any color, right? Yeah. Yellow and blue makes green. I can make purple. And I do have black and white there. Let's put some of this out here. I'm going to show you what I meant about the white. So I am going to paint just this little top area white first. And if you do have white paint, I mean, I can leave this white, obviously. But if I'm afraid that I wanted to mix up a nice purple and the purple wouldn't show up very well on the grayish bark, I would paint this white first. Okay. These stick sculpture is really kind of cool because you can, you could change it anytime you want to by just, finding new sticks out in your backyard. So I'm just going to paint that. And let's paint. Okay. All right. So if I put that part, I know that this from here up, I can see that. So I know I have this area at the bottom to hold on to. So I am going to paint this white, and I probably am going to leave this white because then I can use my different colors to decorate it and put patterns, designs. Let's see, what else? How about up here? Let's do this white. You want to, whatever colors you're using, spread it out. If you're using one stick, as I'm putting, I've got white here, I've got white up here, I've got white over here. If you're doing, even with two sticks, think about where you're putting your colors, because when you look at something, your eyes bounce from spot to spot where you have repeated colors. So I can see it's almost like a triangle where I repeated this white. Let's see. Now, I'm not saying that you have to paint this whole thing, because in some areas, I'm going to wrap yarn around it So I don't really need to paint some of those areas. And maybe one more someplace. All right, now I'm going to jump to, I'm going to do some yellow. So I want to rinse that really completely out. I do like a bright yellow. So I am going to paint this. Now I do want to show you. Here's the yellow on top of just that grayish bark. I mean, it's obviously you can still see the yellow, all right? But all right, that's pretty dry. Let's put the yellow on top of the white and see, you can see how much brighter that yellow is when I put it on top of the white as compared to on the gray. So it's just a personal, preference. Probably some of these other colors aren't going to make a difference, but this one, the yellow probably does. And I'm going to paint some others. I am going to paint this one yellow as well. I don't know how many sticks you guys have, but you can, I hope you have a couple anyway. And let's paint some of these. I love these little tiny things because I intend to stick some beads on some of these. This area right here is really dark, so I am going to go dark down here. I could paint it actually black, but I think, see how there's still paint coming out of there. So you really want to make sure you brush, really wash it until you're getting almost none of that. I don't have any more yellow coming out. Okay. You know what? Let's go with, actually, I'm going to take some of this. I'm going to make a green. Kind of a dark green. Yeah, let's take some white light, lighten that up. That's a nice thing. If you just have your primary colors, then you really can make any color you want. I kind of like that green. So I'm going to go, oh, this is a nice green. So I'm going to paint this green. And got green here. Let's put some green up here. I'm using a flat brush. If you don't know what I mean, a flat brush, that metal part of your brush, it's pinched at the very end. Then it gives you those flat bristles, almost like a rectangle. And I usually like to paint with a flat brush, especially something like this. I just find it easier to spread that paint out with a flat brush. You know what? I think we need some bright red in here, someplace to really brighten that up. Okay, let's try. I'll put some red up here. Again, I want to repeat my colors different places. So if I put some red, excuse me, put red here. Make sure I get enough red on here. So I've got red over here. I want to put some red down here. Let's put some red down here. Again, so my eye will bounce from spot to spot on here, or any artwork. And then you're getting that whole visual, because when I look at this, I see green, green. I see yellow, yellow, red, red, red. So you're taking in this whole piece of art piece. Got an awful lot of yellow here. So let's make the middle here red. And I'm not going to use this. I went to black. I'm actually going to grab a different paintbrush. Put some black there. Now, some of this is already dry. So you know what? I'm going to put a black stripe in here. It goes around that green. So check with your fingers, you know, if you want to start putting little stripes different places to make sure that paint is dry. And like I said, I really do. I'm going to put a little bit of black around the bottom here. You're not going to get that perfect stripe, so don't worry about it. Remember, this is a stick from nature. I am going to put another black stripe. And you know what, normally you might paint, and I did paint around, but sometimes it's easier to just put your flat brush down and just make little strokes with your paintbrush. Okay, so right now I'm just going to stick this in here and let that dry a bit. And I'm going to take one of my other sticks that's going to stick in the pot. And I'm going to paint a lot of this black because I'm going to wrap some yarn around this in bright color yarn. So I'm going to paint this middle section black. If you have a lot of sticks, you're going to need a really big pot. Now remember, you're going to cover up some of these sticks we're going to wrap some yarn. So just kind of keep that in mind. That bright blue is good with the black. And you know what? I'm going to grab this one because I want to add some of that light blue. I actually think I have way too much yellow on this. So I'm going to go over this yellow here. And I'm going to paint that light blue. In fact, I think I'm going to paint it all the way down here. And let's just put a little of that light blue right here. I'm going to start using this also to put little decorations on here. So sometimes you can use the end of your paintbrush to put little polka dots. I'm going to dip the end of my paintbrush in this white, and let's take this up here. Have a pencil here, and yeah, that flat eraser. I'm going to dip that in there, and I'm just using my finger to hold this steady. Of course, you're not going to get a perfect dot, and I'm going around and around because this is a round stick, but I'm just going to dot that. And let's see. Let's put another one here. Don't worry that they're not these perfect, circles. You're not really going to get a perfect circle. And I'm going to wipe this off because I do want to use this pencil later. Okay. Let's paint a little red around here. And yeah, I think I'm going to save this section totally for yarn. And I'll paint just a little bit of red here. Let's put this one back and well, you know what? I am going to skip right to some yarn now because I honestly think I've got a lot of areas painted and I want to start wrapping some of these sections. As you can see, I used a marker in here to draw some of these tiny lines, which you can do too. But it's nice to add this dimensional feel and look to these sticks by adding yarn and by adding some beads, which the beads will be at the very end so they can sit and dry. So let's do some yarn around. Let's do some right, I think I'm going to put a little bit of yarn here. So, whoops. Okay, I'm going to use some light blue. And I find it easier with something like this to use tacky glue because it's a little bit stronger, but Elmer's glue will work just fine. I'm going to just squeeze some, just kind of spread it around. Because I'm going to put, and the tacky glue or even Elmer's glue is going to dry clear, so don't worry about it. If you think it's going to show through, it dries clear anyway. So let's see. I'm just going to cut myself a piece. And I'm going to start at the bottom here. I'm just going to stick that in the glue. And now I'm just going to turn this. Let's push this down a little bit. And make sure my yarn, I just keep turning this, keep pushing it in there. Until I get as much yarn on there as I want. Let's see, maybe a little bit more. Okay. And then I'm going to cut that off. Just a little snip. I think like I said, I'm going to repeat this. So I think I'm going to come up here and I'm going to repeat that yarn up there. So right in here between the red and the blue. You know what? Sometimes it's just easier to use your fingers. Just a little bit of glue. Spread that. So I'm going to use this other piece. Put that down in there. And this one, because it's got all these little things here, and this one is going to be hard to turn. So I'm going to have to wrap this myself. Whoops. Okay. Now that makes it easier. And every time I do that, you can leave spaces in between, but I don't want to. I want to push these close together. So, and I'll snip that one. I'll get a glue on here. Just need a little bit more glue to get that to stay. Okay, I'm going to put that back in here. Let's add some more. You know what? I want to brighten up some of this too with some white yarn. I got to think about that one. And that's the thing, you know, you need to stick it in the pot and really and look at it and think, where do I want, you know, that color repeated? Where do I want that yarn? In this case, I'm going to put yarn down here. So I'm going to spread this with a lot of glue here. And I'm going to put white and start at the bottom. And I'm going to start wrapping. It's nice when you can do this. And you just get that stuck in the glue. When you do this on some of those tiny little branches, it is really hard to wrap it. So you end up getting your fingers in there. So I'm just going to keep turning this. Push that down a little bit until I get all of this wrapped. And I think we're done. So we'll snip that. Make sure that's glued down. This one I think needs some really bright. So let's add some really bright color to this one. And it needs that pop. So I'm just going to stick that in there while I get some of this yarn ready. This one I'm just going to cut, I think, right in the middle here. And then I think I'm going to make a pom-pom to kind of repeat, like I said before, repeat the color, but also really to make this stick pop. Put that yarn there. This one I can twirl. It seems like the ones like right in the main portion of your stick, someplace in here, you can twirl them, whereas the little tiny branches off the main pole. And cut that and make sure it sticks. The end sticks in some glue. And this little end is still giving me a little trouble, so I'm going to put just a little glue here. And then, okay. And I'm going to put that in anytime you need to. Put your stick back in your pot. Now, if you've never made a pom-pom, it's actually pretty easy. Okay, I'm going to put those two ends together. Okay, and this is how I do it. I take two fingers and I'm going to hold on to that with my thumb. And I'm going to separate my fingers just a little bit. And I'm going to wrap this. Because I have two different yarns, maybe 10 times. And then I'm going to cut this. Okay. Now, I need a piece to tie to hold this. So I'm going to cut this black piece. You want to take that off your fingers and you want to pinch it in the middle. Okay, so I've pinched this. I'm going to cross this over, pull it through. And if you're having trouble, have somebody help you. Okay, and I tie this a double. All right, those extra long things, I'm going to cut off. Now, you want to put your scissors through all of these loops and cut those. The other end, I want to find the loops. See, I want to put my scissors through all of those loops. And if there's a couple of extra ones, just go back and cut them. Here's a couple of extras. Okay, you want to fluff this up. Okay, and I want to put this on the end here. Okay, see, I want to put this right on here. But I am going to wait until I've decided, is there anything else that I want to do on this stick? Because once you put that pom-pom on there, it really has to sit and dry because it will just keep falling off. Okay, before I do that, I do have some beads, and I don't know if any of these, oh, that will go on there. Let's see, do I have, well, these are probably, oh, that little one right here, on here. And basically, I'm just going to stick that on here. Okay. And that's going to, it will take a little while to dry, but it will stay on there and it will be nice and secure when it is dry. Maybe, how about this white one on here? You know what? Let's try this side. That one is. Okay. And to put this pom-pom on, I'm going to squeeze glue right on the top but also just kind of spread it around a little bit. And kind of stick that in there. I'm also going to pinch it so some of that sticks to the glue that I put down the side. I'm not going to move that now. It's pretty much done. When that's really dry, I can fluff that pom-pom up a little bit more. But right now, this is going to stay, and that's going to stay in there. But I'm going to put a pom-pom on this one here. So I'm going to make another pom-pom, and I'm going to use yellow. I like to do combinations. So again, I'm going to hold on to that with my thumb, and I'm going to spread my fingers apart, and there's 10. This yarn is a little bit thinner than the pink and the black. So I'm going to do a couple of extras on here. So I think I did 13 wraps on this one. So I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to pinch that. Okay. And let's try a different technique on this. Let's cut this. And if I put this down, okay, pull that up. Cross it over, make a knot, and pull it really tight. And I'm going to do this again. Make another knot to make sure it doesn't come undone. Okay. Like I said, you can cut those little pieces. Go back with your scissors and cut your loops. Sometimes it's just a little bit of a snip. And the others in there. Okay. I can fluff that up a little bit. I could put that pom-pom there. I do like pom-poms on my sculptures. So again, I'm going to put some glue around the sides and of course on the top. And stick that on the top, but then pinch it so some of that pom-pom yarn is sticking to the sides, which will help to hold it on there. Okay. Now I absolutely could add more yarn, but you can also, now I'm going to take a Sharpie, like on this yellow right here. Let's gotta be careful I don't knock my pom-pom off. So maybe I want to do just some tiny little lines. For decoration. So this is, I'm just creating, I'm going to do the other side. I'm just creating a pattern. Maybe in here, I'm just going to make a couple of, these going to make circles. And I would do the other side. So you can use markers on here to add designs to this as well. Down in here, let's do, this can be done with a paintbrush, but you know what? A lot of times a marker is a whole lot easier. But now something like this, if I did this, I may go back. I'm going to use my pencil dipped in the paint. And it's almost like drawing with it. So I'm going to make little patterns in here. So I could do things with the tip of my paint, my pencil. Get that off there. So I could do this all the way around. This area in here, I think that needs to be brightened up. So you could use yarn in there if you wanted to. I'm going to squeeze out a little more white paint. And let's see. Just rinse this off a little bit. Make sure I get the water out of my brush because I don't want to thin my paint out. You want to make sure you get that water out when you wash. I am going to make just little dots. The more patterns, interesting designs you put on here, obviously, the more interesting this is going to be. Okay. I think I would put some up in here. Actually, I'm going to go back and paint this white right in here because I just think it needs to be brightened up. I don't know, maybe a pom-pom up in here someplace would be another good thing. We already have a red one. Let's do a white and a black one. Okay, so I'm going to take some yarn. Okay. And my two fingers, I want to hold that yarn. Okay, but spread your fingers a little bit. And I'm going to just wrap this. 3, 4, 5, 6, whoops, 7, 8, 9, 10. You can wrap them as many times as you want. The more you do it, the fluffier it's going to be. And I'm going to cut that. You're going to take this off and pinch it in the middle. Okay. And I will, you know what, maybe so you can see it better, I'm going to tie this with a pink. Okay, so if I've got this pinched in the middle, all right, you want to tie a knot around that middle and pull this really tight. And you're going to double that because you want to make sure it's not all going to come apart on you. Okay, so now, oops, now you want to snip those loops. Put your scissors through here and snip those. So you can fluff them out. I'm going to do the other side. I'm going to snip those loops. I think, whoops, there's one more. Okay. Now, you know what? I don't care that the pink doesn't match that. That's fine because I've got pink on that sculpture anyway. So then I would just fluff this up. And actually, this is another thing that you could do if you want to leave that. Let's put this pom-pom up here. And all right, I want to put this pom-pom at the end. This stick right here is not that thick, so I'm hoping the pom-pom is going to stay. But the other thing I'm going to do is, see, I'm going to spread some of this glue down because I'm going to stick this pom-pom on here, okay? But I am going to wrap that pink yarn. This is going to help this pom-pom to stay because I'm going to wrap this around in the glue. I think by wrapping, and I can always go back later when that's dry, I think that will help that one to stay. So let's cover this just to make it a little bit different. Let's put some glue on here. Spread this. And these are really fat beads that I've got. So I'm going to stick this on here. You know what? It's basically your imagination. what do you want to put on here? How much do you want to put on here? So I'm going to leave those. This one, see that little thing sticking out there? I definitely think we need some beads on that one. So maybe, let's see if these green ones, that green one fits. I got a different color here. Maybe a purple one. So we could put a couple of beads on that. And okay, about 5 minutes, and I'm going to put this aside, and we're going to get out the other project that we're going to do. And that is a sculpture that's going to stand up. I could put it there, and I could put it there. And you know what? Instead of trying to get 3 on there, I am going to put that little star on the end so I can get those 2 on there. Like I said before, there's a lot more I could do with this. Let me just put these here, and I'm going to bring this back because, I mean, look at all of the different, I put stripes and polka dots and zigzag lines. And again, here's some polka dots, more yarn. This pom-pom I tied around instead of putting it on the top up here. I put beads up here, but I took this pom-pom and I tied it so it's on the side of the stick. So there's a lot of things, and any of those little bumps, you know, you can stick little beads all over them. This one I drew some little flowers on. So later when your paint is much drier and you have a little more time, you know, actually spend some time and look at it and think, okay, you know, what could I put here? This part didn't get painted very well. I need to do something there. There's a lot. I've got to do something in here. If you don't like all these things, okay, get rid of it. All right. But just take your time and look at it, turn it. A sculpture is viewed from all sides, usually. Okay. Want to do is turn this and make sure that whoever is going to look at this besides you, and of course you want to make it beautiful, you want to make sure that no matter which way they turn this, or if you've got this on a table, wherever the people are sitting, that they see something interesting from all sides. That's what a sculpture is all about. You want it pleasing looking and exciting looking from all angles. Okay. So right now, I am going to clean this up a little bit. I'm going to keep my paint out. All right. But I'm going to put the yarn away, and I'm going to get out my pizza board because that's the one that we're going to use next. This is my sculpture. And the interesting thing about this is, okay, it stands up that way, but it also probably stands up that way. The neat thing about this is you're going to be able to take this apart and change it. Okay, that's why we called it a slot sculpture, because it's got these little tiny holes, slots that you can slide into each other. Okay, I'm going to take this one out. See, I could add this one up here. So this can change all the time. You know, I'm using a circle, but you certainly could take a square. It doesn't necessarily, I like to use a circle because I want to make you think. Okay, if I give you a square, I don't want you to cut it up into nice little other squares. And that's why I'm giving you a circle. But I'm also going to make you think, because I don't want you to just take this and divide it up like a piece of pie. Okay, I want you to create a design. So just, oops, excuse me, I'm going to do this with a paper plate. I'm going to trace this because what I'm going to ask you to do, oops, this is just to get an idea, because I'm going to ask you to divide up your big circle, your pizza board, into at least seven pieces. Okay, so I'm going to use my marker so you can see this better. I can divide this up. I really don't want you to just draw a line of, right through the middle. I am going to, all right, let's do this. That is one piece. But I am going to use my paper plate, which you're going to be able to use, and I'm going to do a circle there. So I've got a point here. Something has got to come from here. I could do another circle. So I'm going to put that here. And I'll make another one. I got a K. Let's make a line right through here. So far I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You need 7. All right, 6, at least 6. Let's do another straight line right here. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 6 pieces. Now this is a plan. That's not saying that you have to do exactly on the big, but this is going to get you to think. I need to divide a circle up. I need to make it interesting shapes. I can use straight lines. I can use curved lines. This is one that I had done before. And you can see I've already cut a piece out of this. Let's see, I have a piece here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ooh, I have 8. Okay. So I'm going to go back to this. And again, I may do exactly that, but I may change this. So I do not want to use my black marker because I'm not sure I want all those black lines on here right now. So I am going to use my pencil, and I am going to change this a little bit. So I'm going to put a straight line here. And then I'm going to put another slanted line here. Okay, so let's do this in here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I like to connect lines too. So I'm going to start with this line and I'm going to go straight across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One more. I think I'm going to divide this section up and I'm going to start at that point and I'm going to do a straight line. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 7. If you don't have 7, if you have 6, that's fine. The neat thing about this also is you can keep making more pieces. This is the shape that we're starting with, but certainly I could make a lot more pieces and just keep adding as many pieces as you want. Now, of course, you have to cut this out. And you may think that this is going to be difficult to cut. It's not really. You're going to do what's called scoring. It's going to help you cut the cardboard. You can use your pencil. You can use your scissors. But I'm going to show you just even with a pencil. I'm going to go back along this line, but I am going to press really, oh, I just broke my pencil, really hard. And I did break the pencil. Don't do it that hard. So I am going to use my scissors. open the scissors up, but try not to break your pencil. And I'm going to drag. What I'm doing is I'm making an indentation in here. So I'm going to go over all of my lines. This is going to make it much easier for me to cut this, and I'll show you in just a minute. I'm going to do all my straight lines first. Okay, and then I'll go back and I'll do my curves. Whoops. Okay. You can see that they've pressed into the cardboard. Okay, that's what's called scoring. So now, see, I'm actually going to be able to bend that a little right where I scored it. So this is going to make this a whole lot easier. I'm going to put my scissors in there. This is going to make this easier to cut. Now, the other thing is when you're cutting across a big distance like this is getting a little awkward. So I actually take my scissors out and I'm going to go from the opposite direction. And this will help. See, it's just going to come right off there. This I'm going to do. I want to do all my straight lines from, I'm not going to try and cut inside here. I want to get all of these outside pieces off because those will be the easiest ones. So I'll cut in from here. Now I'm actually going to bend that. I can bend this one. So that is going to make that easier for me to cut as well. I can start from here. I'm finding this awkward with my hand. So I'm going to turn this around. We'll cut from this side. There. If it's a little raggedy, you know, just go back and trim that off. So if you don't like the way it looks, just trim off that little bit of excess. Okay, I'm going to fold this down just a little bit because it does help in the cutting. Take that, turn this around. Now, I'm going to do this one. I'm just carefully just bend this. Just be careful when you're bending a curve, okay? I'm basically doing little snips to get that. And I'm just going to trim that little excess off there. And I'm going to bend this just, oops, that doesn't really want to bend, does it? Okay, let's start it. Do some little snips. If it doesn't bend, you know what? Go back over that. I can see that. I'm going to go back over that because I'm going to make that a little bit easier. You can look at the big difference between this is going to be much easier to cut than this one. This one didn't get scored as well. So now there, I can bend this just a little, but again, be careful bending curves. They don't bend as nicely and you actually may destroy the shape. So just little snips. There. My scissors in there. Little snips. Okay. And again, just trim it off. So now I have all my shapes. Okay. You have paint I'm going to take this part. You can use markers, you can use paint, you can glue things on if you want to. Those of you that, if you still have foam from yesterday, from the parrot, you can put anything on here that you want to. You've got, see, I painted mine green because I get rid of that brown on the other side. So now it's, what are you going to do? Okay, I've got all of these pieces. I have, let's get my markers open. You want to think of patterns that you can do. You've got your ruler, you've got your paper plate. I'm going to use this to help me make curved lines. Okay, and actually you can use the sides of some of your other pieces as well. But right now I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to make some curves. You can color in with marker, you can color in whole spaces. I'm going to go back. I'm going to use up some of my paint that I have, and I'm going to paint. Again, this is a flat brush. See how you can just put this down and drag this? Flat brushes are awesome. Just put it down and drag it, and it makes a nice even line for you. So I'm going to paint this last one. If you haven't been able to tell, I do like black. I am going to just, again, see how that drags? Now I'm going to flip. When you press down, it actually pushes paint up to the top on the other side. So I'm going to turn it over and drag it from that direction. All right, rather that side. I'm going to paint this whole thing black. Just drag it, drag it. I'm going to set this aside so this can dry. It actually doesn't take all that long to dry because it tends to sink into the cardboard. So I'm going to put this one aside. I might do something, you know, crazy on this side too, because this is all, this right now it's just all plain green. Maybe I just want to do, I'm going to go from one point to the next. Again, flat brush, look. Look what you can do with a flat brush. And I flipped it over, used the, makes great little pattern squares. Just put it flat down and drag it flat. It's almost like you're tapping it on here. All right, there's another piece. Now I will have to do something at some point on that one. Let's do something different. Let's just outline this. Let's paint the edge. Let's just paint around the edge. Do this. I can go back with my marker later and color, or just do, or I can just leave this plain black and white. Just fill in those little spots. Paint this edge. So this could be, this can just simply be an outline, okay? Or I love to use the end of my paintbrush, dip it in the paint straight up and down and put dots. Or some more black paint here. The end of your pencil, if you dip it and then straight up and down, you're going to get a big dot, much bigger dot. If I really press, I'm going to get a big dot. I press and press. There are my big dots. Make sure you wipe that off so that doesn't dry on your, or even, dip it in some water so you get that paint off your eraser. All right, let's put that aside. I want to keep in mind the colors that I'm using because I do want to repeat the colors just like we did on the stick sculpture. You repeated colors. I want to repeat colors here as well. So since I've got this little splotch here, I'm just going to make a big polka dot. And I'm going to color this in. So this is going to be just a big polka dot. And I'll do another one here. And you know what? I think I'm going to do another one here. So I'm repeating this shape. This is a different paint. Let's see what this one looks like. I'm actually just going to go around this. Now, I'm getting a wiggly line because this is corrugated cardboard. If you look inside the cut area, you're going to see those wiggles. And so when I make a straight line, which I'm thinking I'm going to make a straight line, I am getting that bumpy. See, I am getting a little bit of a bumpy. I've got to start with a straight, but I am getting, look at that little bump. So far I've got black, I've got pink. I know I have green on the other side. So I'm going to put green on this side as well. And you know what? I'm just going to do some straight lines. I can leave some of this white. I could color space in, but I'm just going to leave this for now. Okay. And I think while I'm here, I'm going to put some green in here. Anytime I can repeat a color on another piece, do it, because it's just, and I love pattern. Any extra little bump, polka dot, line. I'm going to repeat this again up here. Repetition of colors and repetition of shape holds your design together. It's that because your eye, whether you don't realize it, but you're picking up that repetition, and it makes the piece pleasing. And let's see, what other color? Purple looks great with these. You know what other? Let's start from this side. I'm going to do like a U shape. And then another, but I'm not going to put them right underneath each other. I'm going to do underneath those openings. Now I'll put one under that opening, and this one, and this one. So it kind of looks like, well, you could say feathers, grapes. I'm going to get a ruler out pretty soon. These, I could color these in completely, or, with maybe 2 different colors. But right now, I think I'm going to leave that, but I'm going to make a smaller one inside. I'm just making U shapes. I'm just going to make a smaller one. Checkerboards are great patterns to make. Look around your house. Look at the clothes you're wearing. What do you see for a pattern? What kind of design is repeated? Maybe you have something in a rug. Let's do. So I'm just going to leave that. I may go back and add a little black to that just to make that design pop. And let's turn this over and do something on the green side for a change. And let's grab that ruler. Take my black marker. I'm going to do a bunch of slanted lines. I'm just going to keep moving that ruler down. And then we'll take another We can make like a plaid. We could do that. So there are some thin lines. I'm going to take the purple and I'm going to do this on a piece of paper first. When you use these Crayola markers, and different markers will have a fine point, but then if you put them on their side, okay, you can get a fat line. So you've got an option here. You've got a skinny line, you've got a fat line. And that's another thing that can make your design interesting, that contrast. So on here, I'm going to put this down and I'm going to make a fat line. And guess what? It looks like black because the purple is dark and then you put it on top of a dark green, a dark color, which green is a darker color. And so this is going to look like black. And that's fine. So I'm going to do, oh, look at, I got those ripples again. This is where we might need to use some paint because this is so dark. I do need to brighten this up. So I am going to go back. Remember, I'm using a flat brush. But try a stripe. Let's try a stripe and see what happens. Ooh. When I put the white over the purple actually shows up. Not sure I really like that. So I'm going to stop with this one because I have to think about this. I'm not really sure I like that anymore. So I'm going to stop with that one. And let's move on to a different one. Okay. We can do just some wavy lines. And I'm going to do, but you know what? I want to color these in. So instead of using the point, I'm going to use the flat part, the side of that, because I don't want to keep coloring with the point all the time. You actually wear down the point. And then when you want a nice skinny line, you don't have it because the point has been worn down. So if you want to color in a larger space, put it on its side, okay? So I'm going to do this again. I'm going to color this in. I'm just going to do a little one here. While I've got my purple out, I'm going to add a little purple to this. I think I'm going to go in here and I'm going to put a purple stripe in here. Just again, to repeat that, I'm picking up my colors and I'm repeating these because this is going to be one sculpture. So I do want to repeat those colors. And I'm going to put purple in here. I'm just going to color in that whole space in purple. And you know what? I just can't help myself. A lot of times I find myself going back and just adding more and more and more. All right, let's go back to this one. And I'm going to outline this with black. Just the top. Now I can leave this white. Or again, see this one has, this is called a chisel tip. See the slanted line, the slant of the top, that's what's called a chisel tip. If you want a nice point, thin line, you're going to use that. Look at how nice and thin you can get that line, okay, just by using that point. But then I turn it and I can put it down this way and I can get a thin line. So that's another, like I said, this is called a chisel tip. So you've got that slanted edge. So I want to color in a space. So I'm not going to use the point. I'm going to use that fat side. And I'm just going to color. I'm going to do this in strokes. Just leave some spaces in between. Okay. Definitely got to go around these. Definitely have to do this. And purple. Orange and purple and green are beautiful together. All right, I'm going to go around these and whoops, black and orange. Let's just add that. Let's just put some orange in here randomly. Add a little orange. See, as you can see, I'm going back and I'm adding because I want all those colors in my pieces. And this one, I'm going to start with the orange. I'm just going to randomly make this an abstract. So I'm going to color this whole section in, putting my marker on its side. I'm going to use mostly marker from now on because in a few minutes I want to show you how to cut the slots. So I don't want to have to wait for the paint to dry. And I'm going to follow this curve. Sometimes outlining something with a black, that contrast of a bright and a dark helps actually the bright one to show up better. So that's what I'm going to do with this black. By outlining along the pink actually shows up better with that black edge rather than the pink right up against the white. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to outline that. And I'm going to come down and I'm going to outline. So now you can actually see those spaces a little bit better because of that contrast between the dark black line and that bright color. And let's do purple. And I need a green. So I'm going to do a purple. I'm just trying to repeat those different, there's that curve right here. Straight, and sometimes it's hard to get it really straight because of that corrugated cardboard, that ripple in there. So I'm going to leave that. I think I'm going to do green in here. And this is going to be completely colored. I'm going to repeat my pink in here. I'm just going to make using that wide part of the marker. I'm going to fill that space in. Okay. Now this one is completely filled in. I've got a lot of white, and I left areas of white. This pink, and there's no place else in here. So guess what? I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to fill that section in with pink. Because now my pink space, my pink color is repeated. There. Is you're cutting what I call slots, okay? You can't just cut a slit. You just can't make a cut because of the thickness of the cardboard. They have to kind of join, in together. So what I usually do, and you can make cuts on all sides. This, you're going to do just a little bit of a snip, okay? So just a little snip, okay? And right next to it, another little snip. And I'm going to fold that piece back. See how that's folded back? And I'm going to cut that off. Okay. I'm going to make another one right here. So a little bit of a cut right next to it, a little bit of a cut. I'm going to fold that back. And I'm going to cut that off. So you keep making little cuts. They don't have to be in the middle. I can make one close to the edge here. Okay. Fold that back. Cut that off. And let's make another one over here. Cut that. fold it up or fold it back, whichever way you want to do it. Just cut it off. Okay, I got to keep doing this, but right now, okay, I'm going to put those together. Whoops. There, it does stand up a little bit, but it's going to get even better. It's nice to have a flat line, you know, for things to stand on. So I'm gonna cut this, cut this. Don't cut them too big, because then they kind of wobble. I think one of those I made a little too big. I'm going to cut another one down here. That up. All right, let's see. I've got a cut here. Let's put this on top of this. Line up those slots and just slide them in together. There. And I can put these on, even though there isn't a slot here, I can put this. You know what? That one's too short. That's what's wrong. I did not make the cut long enough. You want to make sure it's long enough so when it slides on, it's really going to hold on there. So let's try that again. That's better. So that stays better. Okay, so you can start building. Now I could probably turn this way and I could do this. But I kind of like it this way. All right, I kind of like it that way. There. So now I still need to fix this piece. But now you just, all of these pieces that you have cut out, you need to, and you can cut these slots on each side, top, bottom, even. You know what, let's put one on this very small side, see what happens. I'm going to cut here. And you know what? I don't have anything over here. So actually, I'm going to go back. I'm going to cut a little slot in here. And you may find as you start to put these together, you need to go back. I need a cut there. All right. So let's see this big piece. Now, remember balancing things. You may find as you start to put this together that it flops to one side and you're going to need to put something on the other side to balance it. Okay, I'm putting a big piece sticking out. So let's see what happens to that. If it hooks on, oh, there we go. That one actually stays up. I wonder if I put a big piece over here, what's going to happen? I still need a lot of work on the green side of my sculpture, but you know what? Let's just see what happens if I add something over there. I'm going to do it on the curved side. Now there are no slots up here, but I do want to, I'm just going to slide this on here just to see what happens. And there it goes. So, okay, this is way too much. There isn't enough over here to balance this. So if I want to, I'm just going to grab a piece from my first sculpture. So if I put a piece over here, okay, let's see what happens now. Now I'm going to let's put it this way. I'll put a piece over here. There you go. This still might be a little tippy, but it did start to balance. I could start to build up on here, but if I do, I have to start building up over here. I could build up this way. This is a big one from my first sculpture. Let's see what happens. I'm going to make a cut here. Make that a little bit longer. All right, here we go. Ready? Let's see what happens. Oop. But you know what? Let's turn it on its side like this. And look what happens. Now you've got a completely different angle. It's getting longer instead of higher. I guess we're out of time. So I'm here at the Appleton Museum of Art in Ocala, Florida. This was Wonky Sculpture, and I hope you had fun. Just keep building. You know, anytime that Amazon box comes to your house, don't throw it, cut it up, decorate it, and put it together. Bye.